Mark this moment, because there are those who say you shouldn't be afraid, and they'll tell you why. It doesn't do any good. It just doesn't, and you know it doesn't. If you're sitting there and you're apprehensive about something and someone comes to you and say, don't be afraid. Look, I'm not afraid. That doesn't help. The truth is this. You must cognize it for yourself. Why it's there? Is it something you should be afraid of? Or, as they say, is it a paper tiger? Is it something that, oh, I understand? So it's you seeing what's there with your mind, with your perception, that starts to dismiss these things. The third set of fears we're going to call the ones you create in real time. Now, when I say you create them, you don't instigate them. You cognize things as fearful, and you write your own program. So these would be fears that are written not in the past, not from the survival, not from anything but your life after you get here. What would they be? They would represent most of the fears you have. The society you live in is one society that has parameters and rules, and you may fear that you're not going to make it in that society based upon what people tell you. Many of these kinds of fears, these real-time fears, that is, the ones that you put on yourself while you're here, are self-imposed. You decide that it's a fearful thing. Let me review with you something. How do you find out what's happening around you? What is the method you have to find out what is going on in your city, in your neighborhood, in your country? And the answer is the news. This is fear number one that you place upon yourself. You watch the news. You listen to the news. You read the news. You are aware, are you not? In this culture, in this day and age, at this moment, the news is entertainment. And they must present something to you that you will watch, because the commercials that they show between the watching pays their salaries. Therefore, they will put the things that are most attractive to humans, which is the things that are dark. There may be a dark thing that happens on the planet. There always are those things, but they will not then give you any of the good parts. And there are always good parts. What's happening regarding a situation? The virus is a good example. We've said this before. It is not controversial because many are starting to see it and tune out of the news, not watching it anymore. They're showing you the infection rate, the death rate, and seldom, if ever, do they talk about the heroes, the recovered rate. And so they paint a picture that frightens you. And they go on to the next thing, and it frightens you. And if they've done their job well, they'll frighten you a lot. So you'll come back and watch some other frightening things. What's the solution to that? That is something that is self-made. You choose to tune in, knowing these things, and they go into your psyche, and they stay there. We've told you before, there's no delete key. We've told those who want to be released from this, but also want to know what's happening, to be selective in your news, how you get it. Whether you would get it perhaps in places you trust, and read it instead of having it presented as an entertainment program visually. And that helps a lot of people. There are those who simply have stopped watching it, or will have a news day once a week. They'll catch up in their own way of what they should know, and it has caused so much more peace. How many of you fear the virus? The virus is not something to be feared, dear ones. It's something to be understood. How many of you done research around the virus instead of simply listening to the mandates in the news. There is a big difference. One will create fear, one creates understanding. When you say, oh, here's what I'm doing, here's how long, here are the expectations. And that, my dear human being, creates peace over something that others are fearing. It's not the plague. There are so many things that you have been told that literally create fear without understanding and without knowledge. This is controversial. What do your spiritual leaders tell you? Are you doomed? Were you born dirty? Were you really born dirty? Is it possible that that Creator is watching you carefully so that if you don't behave, that same Creator can then take your soul and torture it forever after you're dead? Burn you alive every single day, perhaps tear your skin off. And you say, well, Kryon, where did you get those visualizations? I got those visualizations from my partner, who saw them painted clearly on the walls of churches inside. Torture. How does that feel to place that upon yourself, to believe it, and to carry it around? You're doomed. These are the kinds of fears we are inviting you to understand and undo and rewrite. And you can. Almost everything you're afraid of, at some point where you can sit down and look at them, is rewritable by understanding, perhaps by affirmations to undo something that is put into your subconscious. All of them are rewritable. And the biggest ones that you have on this planet are the ones you put upon yourself, because either you've done it yourself or others are helping you to fear. How many of you have been told this is going to happen, that's going to happen, beware of this, beware of that? There are things coming that people have said, well, watch out for that when it gets here. Is that your life? Are you afraid of the future? Are you afraid of your culture? That is to say, you won't do this right or that right, or you don't know how long your job is going to last. Do you understand? All of these things are emotions that you create by yourself. Now, we've told you this before. You live in an energy that supports these dark kinds of energies at this point. They won't always. This is what's clearing on the planet. There'll come a time when fear will not be the number one energy that captures you. That's coming. But right now, to rewrite these things and understand them starts to dismiss them. And you find protocols for yourself so that when you hear somebody tell you something, you don't simply cognize it, say, yes, you're right. You start to analyze it and you say, I wonder if that's so. Here's the big one before we close. Made in the image of the Creator, filled with love and compassion. Those are the tools. That's who you are. That's who you are. You are not here as a victim. You are not here to fear. You're here to clear that board with peace and safety and know you're smart enough to see the difference between that which is not so and that which is. And what is so is the fact that you have the right, the lineage, the tools, and all of those things to clear it all, to rewrite it and move into a future that you create, which is safe because of your magnificence. Did you get that? You're not a victim of things to come. You control it all by having intuition of where to go and what to do. We have taught these things to you over and over and over. I want you to sit tall and understand truly what you can do. It's a safe place where you are. And so it is.